What's every diabetic told to eat? Whole grain bread, whole grain cereal. Why? Why? What does Australia grow a lot of? Wheat. So what are they going to tell you? Eat wheat. And so this is explaining that this is not an epidemic, this is a pandemic. Do you know what it said on the news 2 weeks ago? Every 4 minutes in Australia, another diabetic is diagnosed.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Dr. Barbara O'Neill. Today we're uncovering a shocking truth about reversing diabetes naturally, something that has been overlooked or even hidden from the public. Did you know that nearly 1 in 10 adults in the US have diabetes? This number is rising and many are unaware of the powerful ways they can take control of their health. In this video, we'll discuss the natural methods backed by research that can help you manage and even reverse diabetes. You'll discover practical tips on dietary changes, lifestyle adjustments, and the surprising impact of certain foods on your blood sugar levels. As a thank you for joining me today, we're giving away 100 free copies of my best-selling book to subscribers. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, like this video, and comment why you want to win.
Hippocrates, the father of medicine, 400 years BC, no mention of diabetes in his writings. So diabetes is a fairly modern disease. Diabetes is a lifestyle disease. Newton's third law of motion states that to every action there's an equal and an opposite reaction. Why isn't the pancreas working? That's what we should be asking. As Proverbs 26 verse 2 states, the curse causeless shall not come. There is a reason. There is a reason why pancreases are not working. Now the pancreas's, one of its main roles is to release 2 hormones. One is insulin, that gets the blood sugar down. The other hormone is glucagon, and that gets the blood sugar level up. Now, the meal that you had tonight, because it's high in fibre, I think everything had fibre, generous proteins, there's your legumes and some great fats, it gives a slow, sure, steady release of glucose, of nutrients. And that allows the pancreas to just release the insulin as it's needed. That's what every cell in the body wants, and that's what our pancreas wants. But what's happening today is people predominantly are eating a high carbohydrate diet. And this high carbohydrate diet releases a lot of glucose. And that glucose, when it gets into the blood, especially the refined sugar, and by the way, the refined grains, it's almost as high as sugar. But there is one grain that gets the blood sugar levels higher than refined sugar. Is that a surprise? And the grain that does that is what? Bread and cereal and pasta and cakes, etc., and pizza are all made out of predominantly one grain. What's that one grain? It's wheat. Dr. Norman Boulay got a Nobel Prize for his hybridized wheat. At first, the stalk broke before the grain was fully ripe because wheat used to grow that high. Do you remember that? We had a 25-year-old wheat farmer come to our retreat. He'd never heard of such a thing. He didn't know that wheat used to grow that high. And so they went back to the drawing board and they came up with a wheat that only grows this high. I was in Holland, probably a month ago now, and we're driving along. You know, it's very, very flat. And I saw big fields of sandy-coloured grass. I said, what is it? It's everywhere. They said it's wheat. It was only that high. So it had only to be that high with a thick stem because some wheats are producing 8 to 10 times the grain that they originally produced. So in the 1970s, the wheat started to go worldwide. So by the 1990s, every bread, cereal, pasta, cake, etc., pizza, all made out of this hybridised wheat. It was rushed through with no safety studies. They didn't think they had to do safety studies on wheat. It was rushed through with no safety studies. It sounds like the COVID vaccine, doesn't it? Rushed through with no safety studies. And who's it experimented on? I'm not interested in being experimented on. I'm interested in experimenting whether exercise works. I'm interested in experimenting whether drinking more water works or going to bed earlier works, because if it doesn't work, I've lost nothing. They're the only things I'm interested in experimenting on, but I've found that they work. But what it produced, and they're starting to realise this only now, what it produced was a type of such starch structure that gets the blood sugar level up higher than even sugar.
He knew wheat varieties have a higher gluten content and altered protein structures, which have led to changes in how our bodies process them. The higher yield may have helped address global hunger initially, but it also introduced unforeseen health challenges. Modern wheat, due to these modifications, is harder to digest and is linked to higher blood sugar spikes. This altered wheat has become a staple in many diets, found in not just bread and pasta, but also in sauces, processed foods, and snacks. The consistent consumption of such high gluten, high carbohydrate products contributes to an overload of glucose in the blood. Over time, this can strain the pancreas as it tries to produce enough insulin to manage the constant influx. When the pancreas is overworked for too long, insulin production can become inefficient, leading to insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes. Moreover, wheat today contains certain compounds known as amylopectin A, which are rapidly broken down in the body and can elevate blood sugar levels faster than table sugar. This may explain why wheat products can have such a significant impact on blood sugar regulation. The question arises, if our ancestors thrived on natural whole grains without facing the same health crises, what changed? The answer points back to the modification of our food sources and an overall shift toward highly processed, nutrient-poor diets. Unlike traditional whole grains that contained a balance of fibre, nutrients, and natural properties that supported digestion and metabolism, modern processed wheat strips away those benefits, leaving a refined product that impacts health negatively. The result? A surge in lifestyle diseases like diabetes, which were once rare but have now become common due to modern dietary patterns. Addressing this requires a shift back to more natural, whole food-based diets, emphasising balanced intake and reducing reliance on processed carbohydrates.
So to conquer diabetes, what do? To conquer diabetes, go for the low glycemic index foods. It's not easy. It's easy. I meant to say it's not hard to get a glycemic index. You can Google that. It's a matter of having berries for breakfast instead of banana. It's as simple as having a sweet potato instead of potato. Having your whole grains, eliminating the wheat. Low GI foods. Number 2, daily legumes. I met a man, he was a scientist, he was 69. He came to our retreat. He said, when I was 42, I was told I had pre-diabetes and to eat legumes every day. He said, I eat legumes every day and I never got diabetes. Because the beans give that lovely, sure, steady delivery of fuel. But how do we stop them causing bloating or wind? You soak them overnight. And then you rinse them very well. And then you bring them to the boil. Have you seen all the froth that comes on? You know what that is? Wind. You got to rinse it away. What I do is when my beans are 3/4 cooked, I rinse them again. And then I put my beans into a delicious sauce. And then you will not have that problem. They'll be a lot easier to digest. When I first married my husband 24 years ago, he could handle lima beans, he could handle red lentils, he could not handle brown lentils, and he could not handle kidney beans. So what I did is at the meal I'd give him a teaspoon. That didn't cause a problem. A few days later, 2 teaspoons. Within a couple of weeks, 3 teaspoons. He can now handle them all. So sometimes if there are some you can't handle and they're even well soaked and rinsed, just start slowly and introduce yourself to them. As we looked at when we looked at the liver, the legumes are only 1/3 the carbohydrate that you will find in your grains. Number 3, there are some things that must stop. What must stop is wheat. What must stop is refined sugar. Now, if someone's looking at conquering diabetes, initially they also need to eliminate all your healthy sugars, like your palm sugar, your maple syrup and honey. So they need to be stopped until the pancreas is starting to recover. And it can recover. One young man named Dan did our program. He was type 1 diabetes. He got diabetes after a strong course of antibiotics at the age of 15. He's now 19. He said, my specialist said my pancreas is dead. I said, is it gangrene? What's dead? I said, if there is blood going through your pancreas, it's not dead. The life of the flesh is in the blood. So he began to do this. Another thing is no wheat, no caffeine, and no refined sugar and no caffeine. Caffeine can actually get an insulin response, so that has to be stopped. When he came to our retreat, he ate only low glycemic foods. He had legumes every meal. He started to drink more water, hydration. And what he found was if he felt that he was getting a blood sugar level low between meals, he'd have a little bit of the salt and a glass of water, and it would maintain him. I do not advise diabetics eat every 2 hours because that really disrupts digestion.
To further conquer diabetes, it's essential to focus on meal timing and portion control. Eating smaller, more frequent meals can help stabilise blood sugar levels throughout the day. This approach prevents large spikes and drops in glucose, which can be detrimental to anyone managing diabetes. Instead of the traditional 3 big meals, consider dividing your daily food intake into 5 or 6 smaller meals. This way, you can keep your energy levels steady and your hunger at bay without overwhelming your system. In addition to timing, pay attention to portion sizes. Even healthy foods can contribute to weight gain and blood sugar spikes if consumed in excess. Using measuring cups or a food scale can help you better understand serving sizes, making it easier to stick to your dietary goals. This is particularly important for carbohydrates, which directly impact blood sugar levels. Incorporating healthy fats into your diet is also crucial. Foods such as avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil can help slow the absorption of carbohydrates, resulting in a more gradual rise in blood sugar levels. These fats can also provide satiety, helping to keep you full and satisfied longer, which can prevent unnecessary snacking on less healthy options. Stress management is equally important when it comes to controlling blood sugar levels. High stress levels can lead to increased cortisol, a hormone that can elevate blood sugar. Techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing exercises, and even simple hobbies can help alleviate stress. Prioritising sleep is essential too, as inadequate sleep can negatively impact blood sugar control and appetite regulation.
Also, what Dan did is he began to exercise, and the exercise he implemented was the high-intensity interval training. So he'd put his joggers on every morning and he would run up and down the hills. Now, after he was with us for 4 weeks, he did 2 weeks program and 2 weeks in the garden. And he came to me at the end of the 3rd week and he said, I want to tell you something. He said, the first week, if I got a blood sugar level low in the middle of the night, I had some candies in my bag, I'd just take a candy. He said it'd get the blood sugar level up, but he said I'd get a terrible headache. But it got my blood sugar level up. He said the second week, I was feeling a bit guilty that I shouldn't be doing that. So he said, if I got a blood sugar level low in the middle of the night, I'd eat an apple. It takes a long time to eat an apple in the middle of the night, doesn't it? The 3rd week, he did something else. He said the 3rd week, if he got a blood sugar level low, he'd jump on the floor and do 30 push-ups. So what's he doing there? Do you remember in our last presentation looking at the heart, about the stores that we have in the cell? Remember the 20-step pathway that gives us 2 units of energy? There's the 8-step pathway that gives us 36. Of course, that's the oxygen pathway. But remember the little bunch of grapes, the little glycogen stores, already in your muscle cell. So when Dan did 30 push-ups, it caused a release of these glycogen stores that gave him energy, got the blood sugar level up. He said to me, why didn't anyone tell me about glycogen? I believe glycogen is the diabetic's best kept secret. It's already in there. And if you run out of that, what else have you got? You're fat. That's right. He told me that one morning he got up. I have to give you Australian levels. I don't know if yours are similar. I don't think they are. So the blood sugar levels should sit at about anywhere between 5 and 6. So he got up one morning and his blood glucose levels were 3. So what he did was he had the salt, water, got dressed, had another salt, more water, went for a run, came back, tested his blood glucose levels, they were 9. And he'd had nothing to eat. Where did that come from? Came from the stores, the glycogen stores and the fat stores. If you're running out of glycogen, it's an amazing process. That's why exercise is vital. Not only that, what happens when you exercise and you're doing the high intensity? Your cells screaming out for fuel. So what happens is extra insulin receptor sites develop on the membrane around the cell.
Exercise is one of the most effective ways to manage diabetes and can even help reverse the condition for some people. When you exercise, your muscles need more energy, which means they use glucose from your bloodstream. This is especially beneficial for people with diabetes, as it helps lower blood sugar levels and makes the body more efficient at using insulin. High-intensity interval training, HIIT, is particularly effective. This form of exercise alternates between short bursts of intense activity and rest periods, pushing your body to draw on its energy reserves. By doing this, your body not only burns glycogen, but also taps into fat stores, improving overall metabolism. The more you exercise, the more your body adapts and becomes sensitive to insulin, making it easier to manage blood sugar levels. Regular physical activity also plays a crucial role in weight management. Carrying excess weight, particularly around the abdomen, is a major risk factor for insulin resistance. By incorporating exercise into your routine, You can shed excess fat and improve your body's ability to regulate blood sugar. Even modest weight loss can have a significant impact on your diabetes management. Resistance training, like lifting weights or using resistance bands, is another essential component of a comprehensive exercise plan. Building muscle is crucial because muscle cells are more effective at using glucose than fat cells. Plus, muscle burns more calories at rest, which helps maintain a healthy weight over time. The result is better blood sugar control and a reduced risk of diabetes-related complications. Let's not forget the mental benefits of exercise. Managing diabetes can be stressful, and physical activity is a great way to boost your mood. Exercise releases endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals, which can help combat anxiety and depression. Feeling good can motivate you to stick with your exercise routine, creating a positive cycle that reinforces healthy habits. Additionally, regular exercise is excellent for your heart health. People with diabetes are at a higher risk for heart disease, so incorporating activities that strengthen your cardiovascular system is vital. Exercise helps lower blood pressure and improve cholesterol levels, making your heart more resilient.
So number one cause of diabetes is refined sugar. Did you know that there was no diabetes on the planet till sugar was well established? But something else has come along, and you will find that most of these foods are made out of it. It's the hybridized wheat. The hybridized wheat, how could that be? In the 1950s, wheat went through intensive crossbreeding. You see, they wanted to produce a plant with a high yield of grain to help with the starvation crisis in Africa, in India, in Mexico. And they they created one. Now, this plant only grows that high. When I was a little girl and you went out west, the wheat was that high. It's not that high anymore. It's only this high. It has to be this high, because if it stayed that high before the heavy yield was ripe, the stalk broke. So they had to create one that only grew about 2 foot with a thick stem to hold the heavy yield of grain. 1969, Dr. Norman Bourlag got a Nobel Prize for his hybridized wheat. 1970, notice the time frame, 1970, this wheat went worldwide. So by the 1990s, every cereal, bread, cake, pie, pizza, pasta, what's it made out of? The hybridized wheat. But what was never addressed was the effect of that hybridized wheat on the gut. So what I want to show you now is what it did to the starch. That's where it's particularly pertinent in the area of diabetes. And as you'll see, heart disease. So amylopectin A is the name of the starch that was created in the hybridization process. And amylopectin A gets the blood sugar level up very high, very fast, and then a corresponding low. Let me give you something to compare it with. Amylopectin B is found in bananas and potatoes, and if you're familiar with bananas and potatoes on the glycemic index, they're fairly high. So the bananas and the potatoes, the amylopectin B, it's not as quick, not as high, not as fast. You see that? Actually, not as low either. So we'll go up about there. So that's your B and that's your A. Something else to compare it to is amylopectin C. Amylopectin C is found in legumes. That's chickpeas, lima beans, black-eyed beans, cannellini beans. That gives a nice steady rise, maintains a nice steady deliverance, and then a nice steady drop. What does every cell in our body want? It wants a steady delivery of fuel. Understanding what amylopectin A does, let me show you how this affects the glycemic index. Are you familiar with the glycemic index of foods? That's how quickly the glucose in the food is released into the blood. Let me give you a your baseline is 55. So anything under 55 glycemic index is considered low. So your cherries are about 26. Grapefruit, that sits at about 25. So people with diabetes, they're good fruits because they're low GI, slow release of glucose. Sugar. Where does sugar sit? Whether it's white or brown or tan or dark brown, it's 59. Now that's not a surprise. Now your white bread, white cereals, so let's say the white wheat, the refined wheat, it sits at 69. Do you know what that means? A slice of white bread will get the blood sugar level up higher than a lolly.
This rapid spike in blood sugar levels caused by refined sugars and hybridized wheat is a significant concern, especially for those at risk of diabetes. When you consume these foods, your body releases insulin to help manage the sudden influx of glucose in your bloodstream. Over time, if this pattern continues, your body may become less effective at producing insulin, leading to insulin resistance. This condition is a precursor to type 2 diabetes and is becoming alarmingly common in today's society. Additionally, the way our diets have shifted towards convenience and processed foods means that many people are unaware of how these choices impact their health. Foods that contain refined sugars and hybridized wheat are often marketed as healthy or wholesome, misleading consumers. For instance, whole wheat bread can sometimes still contain a significant amount of refined ingredients, making it less healthy than it appears. Moreover, the health implications of consuming hybridized wheat extend beyond diabetes. Research has suggested a link between these modified grains and various digestive issues. The altered starches in hybridized wheat can cause inflammation in the gut, leading to conditions such as leaky gut syndrome. This condition allows toxins and undigested food particles to enter the bloodstream, causing further complications and potentially contributing to autoimmune diseases. It's essential to take a closer look at our dietary choices and consider incorporating whole, unprocessed foods into our meals. Whole grains, legumes, fruits and vegetables provide not only essential nutrients but also fiber, which is crucial for maintaining stable blood sugar levels. Fiber helps slow the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, preventing spikes and crashes that can leave you feeling fatigued and hungry shortly after eating. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this information on reversing diabetes naturally both enlightening and empowering. Remember, making small changes can lead to significant improvements in your health. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we can spread the knowledge that can transform lives. Take care and see you next time.